In March 2017, 20-year-old Amanda Miner arrived home in New York City for spring break. The girl was a student and was attending college in a neighboring state. However, Amanda had another reason to come home. March 15 was her birthday, and this time she would be turning 21. Amanda spent the first half of that day with her family. After the evening dinner, the girl, as it is supposed to be, decided to continue the celebration and went out with her friends. After midnight, Amanda, in the company of friends and acquaintances, was in one of the night bars in Manhattan. By this time, the girl was already in a pretty exhausted state, which was facilitated by the festive atmosphere, loud music, dancing, and of course, alcoholic drinks and cocktails. At about 3 o'clock in the morning, Amanda decided to leave the bar. But to help her get home volunteered two of her newfound friends, 26-year-old Stephen Hoyt and his friend, 24-year-old Michael Kamako. The guys could not resist the charms of the young beauty and considered it a sin to refuse her request. Leaving the bar, the trio got into Stephen's car, a gray Infiniti sedan. Turning on the music at full volume, they took off and, with the roar of the engine, disappeared into the endless blocks of New York City at night. Shortly after 3 a.m., the city's emergency services received several phone calls at once. People were reporting an automobile accident under the Williamsburg Bridge. One eyewitness, who was driving in close proximity to the scene, took video on his cell phone. Due to the commotion and darkness outside, it was hard to make out what happened here. The footage shows emergency vehicles and emergency personnel arriving at the scene.
Wow, oh my goodness.
In the light of car headlights and flashing beacons, one could only see mangled pieces of scrap metal scattered between the concrete and metal structures of the bridge. At first glance, it was even difficult to tell exactly how many vehicles were involved in this accident. However, it would later become clear that only one vehicle was involved in this accident, a gray Infiniti sedan. The car was smashed into two pieces that were lying a few meters away from each other. However, the side of the car divided into two pieces was not the worst sight. A human body was also found at the scene of the accident, or rather what was left of it, namely its two halves, which were also lying at a distance from each other. It was Amanda Miner. But surprisingly, the two guys who were riding in the front seats of the car not only survived the accident, but also did not even suffer any injuries. Simply put, they only got off with a minor scare. Police officers at the scene of the accident stated that the driver of the car, Stephen Hoyt, appeared to be drunk. He smelled of alcohol, his eyes were watery, and he was staggering on his feet. The vehicle was later towed and taken to a special parking lot. Police tape was wrapped around it, saying that the car is now the subject of an investigation. If you look closely at this photo, you can see something creepy. You see this? A piece of flesh and traces of the dead girl's blood stuck to the headboard of the back seat. As time went on, the details of this incident began to emerge, which caused a wave of outrage across the city. The first thing that seemed ironic was that the driver of the car, Stephen Hoyt, was a member of the NYPD Highway Patrol at the time of the accident. During the investigation, it was determined that Stephen, who was off-duty, failed to control his vehicle and crashed into the barrier separating the roadway and struck a support pillar with such force that the vehicle was snapped in half. Data obtained from the car's black box showed that the car was traveling at a speed of almost 180 kilometers per hour at the time of the collision, and that the gas pedal was depressed all the way. The speed limit on that stretch of road is 60 kilometers per hour. According to released court documents, shortly after the collision, Stephen told police that he drove into the ice, lost control of the car, and crashed into a support column. According to court records, the girl was violently thrown from the back seat at the moment of impact and her body was torn in half. After the investigation, the trials began. Since Stephen was driving, his friend was a witness at the trials and was not charged. Stephen was charged with vehicular manslaughter, negligent homicide, DUI, and speeding. Stefan told police that he allegedly had 2 alcoholic drinks at a bar before the accident. However, according to the prosecutor's statement, the boyfriend had at least 9 drinks in the 3 hours before the accident, which was confirmed from surveillance cameras from the bar. The prosecutor said he estimated that Stefan drank about 8 shots of vodka and 1 or 2 cocktails, also containing vodka. His blood alcohol level was well above the legal limit. But what seemed strange was the slight smirk on Stefan's face during the first court hearing. Either he didn't quite realize the seriousness of the situation, or there was another reason for it. After the trial, the family hid Stefan behind a cloth as they led him down the street, surrounded by reporters. There was a good reason for that, however, as the smile did not come off his face at all. It didn't seem to bother him much that his friend had been torn in two and that her horrible death was on his conscience. There was a court investigation for nearly a year, during which time Stefan was under house arrest. In January 2018, 10 months after the accident, the final trial took place. During the investigation, Stefan pleaded guilty to all charges, which allowed him to avoid a harsher sentence and spared the parties a protracted trial. When given a chance to speak, he downplayed his role in Amanda's death, calling it a tragic accident. "We were just celebrating her birthday like she wanted, and unfortunately, we had a tragic accident," he said. "I hope her family can forgive me for this unfortunate situation." At one point, Amanda's sister turned to Stefan and said, "You'll go back to your family after you serve your sentence, but we'll have to live without Amanda forever." Stefan, who snickered before the judge, sentenced him to between 4 and 12 years in prison. He still has a 5-year-old daughter on loose. However, Stefan didn't spend much time in prison. Almost 4 years after his sentencing in April 2022, he posted a new photo on his social media page. A smile shines on his face again. Apparently, Stefan was partial to cars, posting photos with his cars. What to say if on the main photo of his profile still paints the same Infiniti sedan on which the trio got into an accident? Many people were outraged and wondered why a young girl died such a horrible death, while 2 young guys not only remained alive and healthy, but continue to live quietly at large. Police have been told that Amanda could have survived if she had been wearing her seatbelt. But let's be honest, how many people wear seatbelts in the back seats of a car? Apparently, after the trio got into the car, the guys decided to impress their girlfriend. Stefan, seeing a young beauty in the back seat of his car, turned on the music louder and sank the gas pedal to the floor. But alcohol in his adrenaline-fueled blood, a herd of 330 horses under the hood in icy night roads, played a cruel trick on him. He may have made an impression on Amanda, but we'll never know.